Hey, welcome back to another installment of the Booze Briefing. This is where I get to answer your dumbass questions about my books. Joe's The Cold War Diaries, Volume 1 and 2, with 3 still in the works and on the way. And hey, before we get started, give us a like, give us a follow, give us a share, because every book we sell on Amazon helps raise more money and awareness for American Gold Star Mothers, a cause near and dear to my heart. Boy, we got a lot going on today. Let's see. First off, it's been a minute since we did a video. Yeah, it's been a week or two, maybe. I had to go back and look. But yeah, so I've been dealing with some back issues, neck issues, old injuries that will not go away. So I'm dealing with all that kind of stuff. So I try to make these as I can. I got to find, 10 minutes where I can sit on this stool and talk to you guys without cringing too hard. So a couple of things. First, the drink of the day. Oh, and this bottle looks so familiar, Scott. Is that Fib and Fucker? Yes, it is. It's Bib and Tucker, the Classic 6. Now, I'm pretty sure, I haven't looked, but I can go back and look. I'm pretty sure this is the same as what I reviewed. I think it was in the second or third, maybe the first episode. Just the traditional Bib and Tucker small batch bourbon whiskey. This is batch 39, 92 proof, notes of vanilla and chestnut. Well, we'll see about all that. But I think they've rebranded this to the Classic 6, aged for 6 years. So we're going to go ahead and give us a nice little pour here and kind of let that season on the ice as per the usual. Now, before we get too much into this segment, it's pretty good. We'll leave it at that there, let that sit for a bit. Before we get into this segment, I need to address my fellow Rampage brother, Rook, who has apparently filed a formal complaint after being left out of the booze briefing. Yeah, let's see here. Sent me a message after the last video I did. I'll just read it to you. Quote, "You fucking dick. I love those damn videos, but I'm getting tired of the Yeti." He's referring to Phil Benton, the 6'8.5" tall tanker that we served with. Great guy, by the way. "I'm getting tired of the Yeti getting mentioned and not me. LMAO, laughing my ass off. Your next video will be episode number 11, and number 11 is my favorite number. So I better get mentioned. I don't care if it's just to call me a dumbass northerner. Love you, brother." Well, I love you too, but hey, here on your screen, you can see a picture of the Rookster at the border of then West Germany and Commieland to the east. This was back in the day. I mean, look at this guy. That's a pretty squared away trooper, right? Yeah, what the picture doesn't show you is that he was mentally prepared at all times to stop a Soviet invasion by himself. Kind of like a PFC Rambo version of Gandalf.
You shall not pass!
Yeah, no, Rook's a good dude. So there's your shout out, brother. Love you, Rook. A couple of questions we've got today, but let's let that sit for a second. First question is from our old friend Little Randall Joy from Asheville, Ohio, who writes, "How did you get along with the air defense artillery guys stationed at the Hawk Battery at the end of the airfield?" So, yeah, so we had a Hawk anti-aircraft missile battery in Schweinfurt. We were the forward deployed brigade of the 3rd ID at the time in Europe. And so, yeah, at the end of our airfield, we had this Hawk missile battery. And I don't know, man, there's maybe 15, 20 guys, I guess, on that Hawk side. I don't know. You Hawk guys can chime in and let me know how many people it would take to man a battery. But no, we never saw them. We never saw the Hawk guys, man. I mean, they were just kind of over there. Conn Barracks wasn't a very large installation, certainly back then. It expanded after the Gulf War. It got a lot bigger. There was a lot more in the way of logistics and all kinds of, The map at Conn Barracks today doesn't look like anything like it did then. Much, much smaller. Of course, it's not an active barracks now. But yeah, it was much smaller. So give you guys a little history if you're not familiar with it. So Conn Barracks was originally the Flugplatz. It was the airport, it was an airfield that was used to train German Stuka dive bomber pilots during World War II. And across the town at Ledward Barracks was the Panzerkaserne, or the Panzer base, the tank base. So, but yeah, we took over that airfield in 45. Well, we liberated Schweinfurt in 45, and we took it over officially, I want to say it was 46. And Third ID went over there in the early 60s, I think 63. Ron Mahalko and some of those guys may chime in here and correct me if I've got it wrong. But and so we had air cavalry assets, you know, wings of the Marne, for you guys and gals that were stationed in Wiesbaden back in the day in Third ID. We had an air brigade there, and they were, you know, Apaches and Blackhawks and Kiowas and all that good stuff. But what's interesting about that runway is when we did our PT in the morning, this is what I remember the most about the Hawk site. When we did our PT in the morning, you know, we do our stretching and our push-ups and all this side straddle hops and sit-ups and all this stuff. And then we would run for a couple of miles. And if we ran down, I think it was called, was it Patton Drive? Then there was like Marne Drive or whatever there on Conn Barracks. So we'd go out to the airfield and we would run down the airfield because it was a nice long stretch, you know, you could run down. And so we get to the end. Usually we would turn around and come back, and that to the barracks. That was about 2 miles. But we knew it was a bad day. And some of you that were stationed in Schweinfurt already know what I'm about to say. We knew it was a bad day when we got to the end of the airfield. And then instead of turning around and coming back, we dog-legged and went down the other stretch of the airfield out toward the Hawk site. That was not fun. That turned a 2-mile run into a 4-mile run. It was terrible. Yeah, so we would run past the Hawk, you know, batteries out there. That's about the only time we ever saw anything related to the ADA guys. You know, I'm sure they were out and about on the economy, you know, at beer fests and the bars, the pubs, you know, whatever, Maggie's, Zaffons, Jackpot, Subway, East Side. God, there were so many great, Fiddler's Green, I think came around a little bit later. So many great bars in Schweinfurt back in the day. Truck Stop. I can't even remember all the bars that were in Schweinfurt at the time, but I'm sure those ADA guys were out there. But you know, when you're out in the economy in the civilian sector at a tavern or whatever, every Joe you just look like any other Joe. But I don't ever really remember seeing anybody with an ADA patch on their sleeve. So yeah, they just kind of hung out there. I don't even know where their barracks was. Maybe it was back behind ours somewhere. But yeah, we never saw those guys. So I guess we got along okay with them. I mean, they stayed over there and we stayed where we had to stay. So I don't know. Let's take a sip here. This is the Bib and Tucker Fib and Fucker. Remember, if you go to your liquor store, ask for Fib and Fucker by name. You'll get a discount. No, not really, but it's okay. This is the Classic 6 Bib and Tucker. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the rebranded. I'd have to go back and look. And again, I don't taste chestnut. I don't taste vanilla. I taste bourbon. That's my one and only checkbox on my review sheet, right? Does it taste like bourbon? Yeah, great. Fantastic. So, got another question here from Jay Bloom. What's one thing today's Army has that you wish you guys had back in the 80s? Man, that was a really good question because, you know, much like we look at today's military as the most lethal force, you know, in the world, with only near peer, you know, rivals. It was the same way back then. We really thought the Russians, Soviets back then, had the numbers on us for sure. Technologically, as we found out in the Gulf War, Soviet equipment and doctrine was no bueno, man. That was no good. Yeah, they got a one-sided ass kicking in the desert. A shout out to all my brothers who were over there. So, God, the one thing in today's Army, you know, there's a lot. I think the more interesting question might be, is there one thing from back then that they would love to have today? But I don't know. Probably, I'd love to have an M1A2, right? I love to have the upgraded Abrams tank with all the satellite connections in it and all the crazy armament and stuff that they have now. That's night and day. When we used to have find targets, and we're looking out the portholes, and tank commanders looking out the turret. I mean, that's how we found targets back then. So to have a screen and see everything, that's night and day. But as far as like getting beneath a vehicle, I'd probably have to say NVGs, night vision goggles. We had night vision then. The tank certainly had its share of thermal and all that stuff. But as far as individual kit, I loved the LBE that we had. I think anybody that wore the LBE loved the LBE. We had Kevlars. We had just transitioned off the steel pots, to Kevlar helmets and stuff. But the night vision goggles were not really a part of an everyday kit for even an infantryman back then. On the tanks, I think we had, if I remember, and some of my tanker buddies from 364 or other tankers from other units might chime in, I think the TO&E back then said we had one pair of NVGs, night vision goggles, for, I think it was one per platoon. And I think it was in the platoon leader's tank. And it was only there for those situations where you have to dismount, something, your vehicle's disabled or something like that, and you've got your NVGs. I don't remember them being one per tank. I'm pretty sure it was just one per platoon back then. But now, today's Army, man, they got NVGs everywhere. We own the night. We owned the night then, but not at the level that we own it today. So maybe NVGs? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I can't think. I mean, the MRE selections today are obviously a lot better than what we had back then. Maybe the quality, although there's a lawsuit coming. If you guys haven't seen that, there's a whole bunch of talk about a lawsuit regarding contaminants found in, I assume, the newer MREs. I wish they'd crack open a case of the 80s ones and actually see what's in those things. Yeah, there's something in those things. I don't know. Anyway, that's all for today. So remember, keep your glass full, aim straight, drink crooked always, and keep your stories worth telling, folks. That's it. Rampage, we pierce.
Dismissed.